The first week's Russia's invasion of Ukraine unfolded in a rush, Russian tanks rolling through the streets, tens thousands fleeing, falling over cities like Kiev, Kharkiv and Mariupol. Mariupol, in particular, became a symbol Russia's brutality, mostly through work of a team Ukrainian journalists from Associated Press, who were last remaining international correspondents in city. Together they documented the Russian siege of Mariupol, an otherwise cut-off city. Only a strip what these reporters captured was published at time, but it became some defining early days Ukrainian war. Children killed in airstrikes and pregnant women evacuating a maternity hospital covered in blood. Mstyslav Chernov, an AP videographer and member of the Pulitzer Prize-winning team, shot 30 hours of footage in Mariupol before he and his colleagues fled the area through multiple Russian checkpoints. The result is the AP and Frontline documentary, 20 Days in Mariupol, which tells the story of a city under relentless ardment every day. The film shows the unraveling of Mariupol, the chaos and confusion that consumes people as they become isolated and trapped. It also shows how Mariupol survived, how its inhabitants, angry, terrified, heartbroken, exhausted, adapted to almost unimaginable horror. In one scene, Chernov asks a worker who is piling up bodies in a mass grave what he feels. How are people supposed to feel in this situation? This question is the subtext throughout the film, accompanied by one that is clearly asked again and again: why? The question is a constant one in Ukraine and elsewhere. In the nearly 2-year war, Russia continues to towns and villages, often far from the front lines. In Israel, Hamas killed at least 1,200 people and took scores of hostages in a brazen attack. Since then, Israeli strikes have killed more than 13,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza health officials. In Sudan, United Nations officials said last month that the power struggle there had killed more than 9,000. In 6 months, the documentary does not give a clear answer as to why this happened in Mariupol or elsewhere. But it's a frank, insightful look at how victims of war confront this question and try to understand what's going on around them. Before the documentary premieres on PBS stations on Tuesday, November 21 at Vox in New York, he talked to Chernov about the documentary. We talked about how war coverage cannot influence public opinion and policy. Almost 2 years after the siege of Mariupol, nearly a decade after we first began covering the conflict in 2014. About 20 days in Mariupol, the thing that was most evocative for me was the sense of isolation. Mariupol was frontline, but the people there were cut off and had such a limited perspective at one point. People didn't know who to blame for Russia or Ukraine. I wonder how you think about this when you're making a movie. People would see press sign on the helmet and go, "Tell me news. You were like AR."